Okay, so joining me live from the UK Dev Group, and I'm going to put the QR code up there, which I can now point to. And he does say at the moment it's not running HTTPS, so just click on the "it's okay, it's safe" and go through it if it doesn't work. Is Jason?
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm very well, and we got the HTTPS working just in the last hour. So
oh, you did? Oh, well, let me edit that URL because I think my URL is not the HTTPS.
It's one of those things that's just over the horizon and has been for years and years. And on our monthly slide at the meeting, it's like, and this month we will be. So I understand why publishing roadmaps is not popular when
Yeah, I mean, let me put it this way, okay? Because roadmap, we said the R word, so we may as well address it. IDEA have a very firm policy, for those that don't know, of not having a roadmap. And Patrick, by the way, says hello. You've met Patrick. You know who Patrick is? Yes. Jason, for those that don't know, I probably should mention who you are. Jason runs the UK Dev Group, the UK Developers Group. And if you scan that URL up there, and people are scanning it because I can see the QR code thing going, it's very good. Now, we're going to put some other links up in a minute to other sites, but Jason is specifically UK based. We're going to talk about developer groups in general, but the reason that Patrick, Jason and myself have met up in the flesh, despite living many thousands of miles apart, is because we met at the Amsterdam
the GDK Summit, the Delphi Summit. Fantastic event. And me and Patrick have a passion for walking upstairs. So we don't use lifts. It's not superstition. We just like the exercise. So we bumped into each other on the first day going up the stairs, and then bumped into each other at the gym, I think on the last day as well. So
this is where we discussed in the chat beforehand, where I said you said something about CrossFit, and I said I get cross when I try and get fit as well. Yeah, exactly. It's yeah, I mean, Patrick was there live, and so this is why some of these events, these in-person events, they faded away during COVID. Yeah, and it killed a lot of user groups. You know, I know the Orange County user group, they also didn't go live for ages, and they're actually quite a lively group. They meet every month, and I think Boise in Idaho, because that's where Jim lives, and a few other developers. It was the same thing.
Funnily enough, for us, for our group, our numbers sort of surged slightly through COVID. I think we were face to face up until that point, and people having to travel to London, and for even though for those in the States and other parts of the world, driving 3 or 4 or 5 hours doesn't seem like a thing. A lot of people outside London struggle to get in, and a lot of people inside London won't go outside London. So we were sort of fairly constrained. And then COVID came along, and we went virtual, and we probably had about. Probably grew the membership by about 50% over that time. We don't have a massive group. I think we've got 30 or 40 members. So
well, it's better than zero. Yeah. I mean, I always say to people as well, and this includes the people that are watching, because we'll get more people. We get a couple of hundred live, but we get several thousand on the replays, and weirdly enough, several thousand on the 4-hour replays as well, which is insane. Right. Not just because after the event is over, we cut them up into little chunks, so they're easier for people to watch, an hour here or 40 minutes there or whatever. But we get 3,000, I think it's 3,500 or something for day 4 or something like that. Wow. That was a 4.5 hour video. Yeah. And we can tell from the stats that, how much attention they're paying.
That's the engagement. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. So I don't know, but
there's a lot of content, isn't there? I think there's that people are consuming that, and you talked about the Delphi Summit, and I was keen to go, and I was keen to sort of try and get our members to go, because that face-to-face engagement, you know, you just can't beat it. And yeah, Patrick will never need to ask me a question in his life, but if he chose to, I would absolutely invest my time in sort of trying to help out, versus you know, a sea of you know, questions and answers in sort of the Stack Overflow type thing. So
well, I think also that me being turning up and meeting people. Is your YouTube on, by the way? I can hear a slight echo, but it could be noise cancelling. But I think that you know, the in-person event was useful because people could come up to me and literally go, hi, shake my hand, and see that. Well, I mean, you tell me otherwise, but I think what you see is what you get. I mean, I am like this all the time. I'm not. This is not an act. I mean, you know, it's my professional persona, if you see what I mean. I'm obviously not swearing and stuff like that. You don't like that. But apart from that, what you see is what you get. I am genuinely an enthusiast about Delphi and Rad Studio and coding in general. I am a developer. I'm not some kind of like advertising, marketing, you know, professional or something like that. I am a coder, and I think that meeting people in the flesh just helps, you know, get that. But also it allowed people to sit around, drink a coffee, or you know, eat one of the many excellent foods they had at that event.
They did have excellent. I haven't actually spoken to Marco, and we've had some messages backwards and forwards. We're going to try and meet up, you know, because obviously any user group to me is a bit of a busman's holiday. You know, I've been involved in our group for a long time.
Hey, let's talk about another user group.
Well, no, but, and so I don't really any sort of face-to-face or sort of, you know, positive engagement like that. But the one thing I would have really liked was a little bit more. That is a fantastic venue, but we as the developers, whenever we get together, there always seems to be sort of a laptop breaking out and a few people looking over each other's shoulders and huddling in, and you know, and so there wasn't a massive amount of that. And I think Marco next year is going to try and get the hotel venue sort of the hotel and venue closer together.
Oh, really?
I hope so. Yeah. I asked, and he didn't say he wasn't. But
yeah. You know, I don't know how he manages to. I'm going to put the URL in here for the Delphi Summit.
And of course, we had some, and you know, I don't own the speakers at all, but we had a couple of the speakers from UK Dev Group. We had Richard and Conrad.
Yeah.
So they both.
Yeah. I'm just going to go there because if people don't know what we're talking about and think we're just like talking nonsense, go to that URL and have a look, because they've got a post, you know, summit video. Which really does capture the flavour of what's going on. I've got a lot of time for Marco G, and all of them at GDK. Actually, you know, Francesca and all the others, they looked after everybody so well.
Yeah,
you know, you would think that they were some kind of events company, not a development company.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. But go to delphisummit.com, because that is they're an interesting bunch of people. But I mean, I'm going to share my screen. Just one second.
While you're doing that, I'll just say to everyone, I'm a fan of the non-virtual desk backdrop. So this is actually my office.
We talked about this, didn't we? And I didn't quite get. Here we go. Community. Click on this. F11. There you go. So I mean, I use a virtual backdrop because they just want me to. So I mean, I don't have to. I can turn it off, but it's just easier. And also, sometimes my dog is lying behind me. Don't trust dogs. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it gets a little bit too graphic if they're kind of like, you know, hot and sweaty and stuff. So let me just share my screen for a second, because I've got this screen up. I'm not sure. Yeah, we can still have us along here. That's good. So this, if people go to the blog page, which is blogs.embarcadero.com/community, and we will put a link up for that in a minute. But here is actually the community page. Now, Jason runs the UK developers group, which it suddenly occurs to me: do we actually have you on this page? Because that would just
No,
be typical.
No, I don't think so. So we're
well, isn't that just awesome?
Yeah. Well, we are a paid for group, so there's people pay subs to sort of for the admin. So I don't know if that counts for anything.
No. And in fact, I control this page, so I'll get you put on.
Okay. So you stopped me then.
Yeah, it was deliberate. No. I actually, I'm the editor of most of the sites, blogs and things like that. And this page is kind of weird because it was created before I joined the company, and it has been updated with a few things. Like I added a couple of Telegram groups and LinkedIn and stuff like that. But it also gets translated. So if you go to the French version, I don't know if people know, but you can actually see the site in English, German, Spanish, French, Portuguese. I think that's Russian, and I think that's traditional Chinese, but I could be wrong. Actually, no, that looks like Japanese. My mistake. I apologize to the Japanese nation for just dissing them. But anyway, it's translated into all sorts of languages. So it is a little bit complicated to update, but I can do it. So I will make sure you get put on there. I'm really surprised you're not on there because I did update it a while ago. See, Australian is on there.
Okay.
Well, that is a boo-boo, and I take full responsibility for that. That's my mistake. Well, you're here now, so they're not getting their QR code put up in the top left-hand corner, so that you win. So let me just hide that now. Some of these groups, I don't think people realize somehow. You get people say things like, "Oh, hardly anybody uses Delphi." Yeah. I've had that said to me multiple times, and usually by people who have either never used Delphi or they used it like 30 years ago or 20 years ago. And yes, it could be 30 years ago next year, but a long time ago. And then they moved on to use something like .NET. And they failed to show to me why what they've chosen is better than what the Delphi was doing. And it's usually to do with a number of complicated reasons, and stuff like that. But there are 3.5 million people that I'm aware of that are using Delphi. And these groups here are representative of a very small fraction of the user groups around the world. For example, the Telegram group here, I'm actually on at least 3 Telegram groups. And the good thing about the paid version of Telegram is it auto-translates.
Okay.
So which is why I like it. So the Brazilian Telegram group, which is very active because they're full of developers everywhere, they ask their questions in Brazilian Portuguese, but I see it in English. And if I reply back in English, it translates it back into Portuguese for them as well. Now, I don't know how accurate my English to Portuguese translation is, but they seem to understand. So I'm guessing it. I mean, I can understand their questions. So I don't know. It seems to be working, but it's one of those things that Telegram do. The Skier for Delphi one is obviously in English because that's, Skier for Delphi guys speak fluent English. But yeah, Delphi Praxis, German, but a whole English section.
So Discord. Can I just this is the list of all the forums, isn't it? So there's
yes,
I can see the ADUG there, the Australian user group. So how, in terms of for the developer, how do you find your favorite? Because when we run our meetings, the good thing about the members is that they act like aggregators. So if they see something interesting, they'll put it in our news and interest on our private Slack, and then people will go and they might even summarize it. So for instance, for these talks for this session, there's a little summary thread going on. Don't go and have a look in, even though you can. But do you subscribe to all of these?
Well, the answer to that is yes. Do I follow all of them is the correct question. And the answer is no. And the reason is that this is only a small fraction of the other ones I'm involved in. For example, in the past week, I've done videos like, talking up someone's event or something like that. For Brazil, and I've done one previously for Japan, And obviously, there's absolutely no point in me looking at a Japanese user group. The time zone doesn't work, and also I mostly cannot get any translation from it. But I also have only so many hours in the day that I'm awake. And if you take, for example, the Facebook groups, there are multitudes of Delphi Facebook groups. I would imagine 10 or more minimum. And some of those groups have hundreds of messages, and some of them have 1 or 2 every week. I can't pick, I can't participate in all of them. The ones that I find the most useful, the ones that I personally think are the most supportive. I just made someone an MVP a while ago. He calls himself Delphi Coder. Is actually pretty well known. And Thomas, his name is. He's based in France, although he's German. And he is kind of on the border. But the reason I chose him to be an MVP is because he's a Discord guy, and he's very heavily active. So my policy since I became, developer advocate or developer relations or whatever you want to refer to me as, is to pick other people who look like they're good champions and make them MVPs. Some people are already MVPs, like yourself. Dave Nottage, also excellent. His forum on Slack, Delphi Worlds, is incredibly good. And if you're into mobile development, then Dave's one is the one to go to, because Dave does a lot of mobile development, but he also produces Castry, which is a very popular library. And they're just people who hang out there who are making Delphi apps for mobile all the time. So if you're going to write mobile apps and you've got a question, ask it there, because you're going to get someone who probably has come across the problem before and has got the answer. But Discord, I do hang out in a few of those groups relatively regularly. There's Darian Miller. I think he's got a couple of groups, not just on Discord, but a few others as well. Darian and I don't always see eye to eye, I have to say, but quite different personalities in all sorts of ways. But his groups are excellent. He's a very good MVP in terms of how he corrals those, and he's always good on blogging and things like that. Everybody brings something to the table. So my personal feeling is that my job is to try and make myself obsolete. Not obsolete, but irrelevant. And that's by picking people who are good at this social media and manage those, and that's how I do it.
But I'm quite an old developer, and went back in computer days and things like that, which a lot of people may never have heard of.
Loved it. Yeah.
You could consume all of the content, and I actually found that when the support groups and started moving on to Facebook and such like, I found it quite disturbing that I couldn't keep up with everything. And there seems to be a shift between, just through the sort of huge amounts of information that are available, from then people being sort of engaged to more, Googling, searching, finding the bit they need, moving on, and not really leaving a sticky presence in that particular place. And so anybody at all that's sort of just starting out with Delphi or struggling, I really encourage them to try and find a community that's small enough so that people get to know you, and put yourself out there, ask the question, say what you can do, and then when you actually have a question, because a lot of we have a lot of questions that are very simple, and a simple Google will sort it out, or a simple ChatGPT will sort it out. But then when you get sort of into the more weeds of what you're trying to achieve, there's often lots of layers. And so for the people in our group, so I'll say, Rob will pose a question, and I already know what his coding style is, and I know aspects about how he architects his systems, and so he will probably get hopefully a better response from the group, because they've already got a bit of his a bit of knowledge about how he works, and that works the same for all of them. So it's Delphi Praxis is the one that leapt out at me there, which is something that I found that there's enough depth and engagement. You don't feel stupid for asking a question. It's not the sort of Stack Overflow where it's like, how dare you come here and ask a question in that stupid way? It's been asked before and you should know. So So yeah.
Okay. And in fact, that is something that I try. One of the things I do is try and say to people, remember where you came from, because like yourself, I've been around for a while as a developer, and I never forget what it was like to not know things.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes there is this kind of make myself feel better by being horrible to someone's attitude, which I don't know whether it's a character fault or whether it's, just generally people believing it's okay to be like that. But if you're on a help forum and someone asks a question, the forum should be called "There are no stupid questions."
That's right. Yeah. And
because
even if it is stupid and naive or that it's been asked before or whatever it is, then if you don't have anything nice to say, then just
there is one person at the moment who's definitely a beginner developer, although he claims to have worked in other languages, but I don't know. The questions he's asking make me think that's probably not true, but my guess is that they're fairly young, like a student. And that's my guess. I could be completely wrong. They could be like 85 years old and, just starting out. I don't know. But they often ask, I'm not going to say what platform they're on, but they're on a fairly active platform. And they ask some questions which you kind of go, oh, you don't get it. Someone will give them an answer and then they try to start answering other people's questions to help. I admire the fact they're trying to help, but the answers they were given were completely wrong, absolutely, like 100%. And so I'm trying to politely say to them, only answer the question if you really know that the answer you're giving is the right one. Don't just do it because you want to participate.
Yeah.
And they got a bit offended, but I think they've got over it now. And now they are a little bit more, engaged in a way that makes sense. And one of the hardest things for me is to set the tone right. I've done it wrong. I make mistakes, and sometimes I'm going to offend people. Sometimes I'll say the wrong thing. Sometimes the company might be annoyed at me. In their defense, Embarcadero have never said to me, I'm going to turn my screen off, by the way, and so we go back to big me and you, because I think we're there now. But Embarcadero have never said to me, don't say X or Y. There are secrets I know, obviously, because I know when a version is or isn't coming, and I know what feature we're going to put in, and those are business secrets in the sense that if we give our hand away, every competitor out there, whoever it might be, is going to emulate us or try and beat us to the post, and that's a business secret. That's different from having a secret for the sake of having a secret. And in their defense, they let me pretty much say and do what I want, which I don't know whether that's reckless or not, because I can sometimes say the wrong thing, but that is the way they are. Because I've tried to, since I started, is encourage people to get in touch with us.
Yeah.
Email me, contact me. If we are doing something you think is dumb, or there's something that people struggle with over and over again in the user groups, if you get a new person or whatever and they're struggling, and you think, do you know what? Why don't Embarcadero do X or Y? If people tell me, I am actually able to talk to people who can make a change. Whether we can do it practically is another question. That's something completely different. But we are not Microsoft. No. I guarantee. I have a problem with Skype at the moment. Like, Skype has got a bug where if you get spammed by one of these crypto spammers.
Oh yeah.
And if you then say block because they're spam, and you block the contact rather than the chat group they've added you to, you cannot get rid of the notifications. They keep sending you notifications from contacts you've blocked, but you haven't blocked the chat. And there's no way to go to the chat because they own the chat, and it's a bug. And I can tell you now, I know some fairly senior people at Microsoft, and I can go to them and say, this is a really bad idea. But I'm lucky. It's because of the role I have, and I know some other people. But, and I'm not dissing Microsoft here because they have a huge different business model. There are many, many, many multitudes of size bigger than us. But trying to get through to someone to get an answer or to even just have a open up a dialogue is very difficult. Not with us, not with Embarcadero. You know, I keep putting my email up and saying, email me.
Yeah.
Email me, contact me. I mean it. Even if you think that what we're doing is absolutely disgracefully bad, or I'd rather people tell me, and I can then go and tell other people, because obviously we want people to be happy, you know, and we can't give away the product for free, you know, stuff like that. But where we can make a change, if it makes sense, of course we'll make a change, you know, and that's the difference, you know. And I think that's helped reflect out into the user groups and things like that, you know, I didn't have anybody try and pin me up against the wall last time in the Delphi Summit. So I'm doing okay so far. I'm quite a big guy, so, you know, I'm not that much.
In the Netherlands, they seem to have an awful lot of user groups, don't they?
Oh, God, yeah.
Very, very, very active there. We're always trying to work out how, and I understand why it's sort of not a closely guarded secret, but you know, how many developers there are in the UK, and you know, whether we reach them. So we also sort of, well, I say worked with, we sort of tried to collaborate with Grey Matter, who's the UK one of the UK distributors, and throughout, I think the user groups and the European distributors possibly work together. But in terms of that list that you've got there, that's not user groups per se, is it?
No, it's more online communities. But I am going to do a list of user groups.
That'd be good, because there used to be many years ago. There used to be a user group of user groups. Yes, because when I started getting involved in the administration of the UK developer group, it had all sort of fallen by the wayside, I think. Yeah, and it's great when you find, you know, you sort of speak to another organizer of a user group and says, you know, so how is it, and everything on the outside looks fantastic. They go, do you know, it's so difficult to get people to come and do talks, you know, and everybody has a talk in them. You know, all of our developers, all of our members you'll speak to someone and say, I've got nothing to talk about, and you speak to them for 5 minutes, and you're like, oh, well, there's a talk, and that's a talk, and, you know, a developer will have found that as a problem, and the fact that is a problem, and so
we've all got a shared trade, you know.
Yeah. And we've solved the same problems, you know, different in our group. You know, we are a Delphi user group, but that was Delphi and C++ builder. But we also sort of cover other things that developers have it.
Yeah, I know you do C# and a few other things as well, which is fine.
But even down to tools that are sort of ancillary to. Well, in fact, we had a talk about buying and selling IP and buying and selling companies, because that's somebody had an interest in it. They'd done some research in it. They're a Delphi developer, and so that was, you know, that came up, and I think I sort of keep coming back to this: the difference between being engaged and contributing versus Googling and searching is that if you Google and search, you only generally find things that you're looking for, and the job of the group and having a diverse set of talks is, I'll listen to a talk about a certain technology, and it's not actually my bag. It's not necessarily something primarily that's interesting to me, but there's always something that you take away, and we get to see code, and so there's always oh, hang on, what did he do then, or what did she do then, and you can get some information from that. And so I think that's one of the really important things about being part of a community and not just looking through the lens of what you're trying. Oh, my camera's gone a bit.
You've gone into soft focus. It's decided you need to be more beautiful.
It's this posh camera. Look, it's perfectly focused there. It's auto focusing.
I see.
I
have a fixed focus 4K camera, so
should I turn my camera off for a second and turn it back on?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, it'll probably work its way back in.
Maybe not. No. Okay. Fair dues. You're gonna have
we'll over. There you go. It's trying to focus.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. So
my point about engaging, about everybody, you know, whoever you are, try and find a tribe to engage with, to talk about your things, and from the group's point of view, you know, we're always looking for new members from who are just starting out with Delphi, all through to sort of people who are coming over from other environments. Yeah, and I hope that there's I hope there are sufficient sort of communities out there that because there used to be prior to sort of COVID, there was the or a while before that there was the meetups, and they look like for Delphi.
Well, Orange County user group do use Meetup as well.
Okay.
And they've started increasing their numbers again as well. I think they said they doubled their number recently, which it's not as exciting as it sounds. It wasn't 1,000 to 2,000, but it was good. And the possibility of different user groups meeting virtually, so they meet in person and then meet others virtually at the same time, is also doable as well, because I think that kind of cross-pollination, because there are trends and fashions in different countries in development. Because like in Brazil, they use horse a lot, T-horse, for web hosting, which is their thing. And almost every second talk, even today, the talk included horse. I noticed is as a microservice, and that is because one of their top people there is the author of it. But it's a great service, but it's not something that's used as often in the UK, I think.
No.
And a few other, I'm not so sure about the US, but even the US, it's, I don't know. I get people say things, oh, we should start a Dallas user group. And I'm like, okay, how many users are there in Dallas? And they're like, I'm in Dallas. Oh, okay. I never had any idea. But I mean, we're not stupid. We know that things are not like the Borland days. We know that. But we are improving, and we're picking up. The last quarter, we sold more than we've ever sold.
Wow.
And of them, a certain percentage were new users, like completely never used it before, which is the key.
Yeah.
And also we know from the CE edition, we deliberately released that early. We normally wait a year and do that. We did 12.1 early. And it definitely you're not going to fix it.
I'm going to try and fix it. You keep. I'm definitely going to fix it.
I'm going to pretend I'm drunk.
We'll change cameras. Look at that.
Oh, there you go. See, that works.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I mean, the community edition has made a big difference. There are a lot of people adopting it as well.
So can I just frame that as well, because one of the functions, one of the key functions of a group, and having sort of an organized group is connecting people, and so I have a sort of I have a sort of database in OneNote, and I have a mental database of people that know things and certain things, and join them up, especially people who sort of prospect and come along to talk, want to, or are considering joining the group. I'll sort of always try and have a chat with them and see what it is what their thing is, what their shortfalls are in terms of their skills or whatever, so we can marry that up. But we do get this sort of this I don't bite. I see lots of people. Glenn is fantastic for biting on the Facebook groups when someone pipes up saying nobody's using Delphi.
Don't give him anything sharp. Because
we have this thing that sort of I'll get every so often a company will say, look, we've got this line of business system, we've got that, and we've got 3 developers, we can't find developers, so we're talking about moving to C#. And then I get on the other side, I get Delphi developers saying I can't find a job. And it doesn't often happen, and we've been sort of definitely instrumental in joining some people together that have needed those. So both things can't be true.
No, that's exactly what I said in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something about that as well, which is related to that. When I joined, I obviously came with my own baggage about Delphi and stuff like that. And 2 things were very obvious to me. In fact, 3 things. First of all, I felt the way we presented the products was wrong. I felt that we emphasized too much on the little technical, hey, we've added this to Delphi 11.3 and this to 12.0, and we focused on some features that a new developer is never going to care about. Oh, you've got a split editor. A new developer goes, sounds great. And, so my focus was more on saying, here's what you can do with Rad Studio. You can create apps. You can do this, this, and this. Secondly, if you open the IDE, there was no welcome getting started. You know how you get these little wizards, which I actually hate, but they point to things and say, if you want to turn the camera on, click here. If you want to go and turn the microphone on, turn it. And the ID had none of that. But not only that, it didn't have any videos anywhere that said how to create an iOS app, how to create a Windows app, how to create a Mac app. It did have, and this at the time when I took over, a very long, in-depth video, which was, I think, an hour and a half long, about MVVM, model view model, and another one about dependency injection. Nothing wrong with them, great videos.
Good topic.
But if you are just starting out as a developer, you look at that and go, oh my God, so is that what I need to know? No, I just showed, this morning, there's a Windows app, there's a Mac app, no code, and it animates stuff around. I think that's what I try to focus on. So now when you open that welcome page, down the side, there are all those videos, hour long, saying, you want to create an iOS app? Here's how to do it. It won't tell you, how to create the new Facebook or Instagram, but it will tell you how to get to the point where you've got a Hello World app that runs on iOS from scratch. And so that was part of the baggage I brought. The other part that I said was, where are all the educational establishments that are breeding new developers for us?
Yeah.
Why are there not people out there like me pumping out many, many videos and also going and approaching schools and colleges and saying to them, why are you teaching them the hard way to do things when you could do it with Rad Studio and Delphi a lot easier? If we give you a free community edition, or you take part in the educational program, which is like, I'm not sure, I could be talking the wrong value here for the price, but I think it's like $500. You get X number of licenses for the school.
Right.
And that's it. You just install as many as you need. I think I don't know how many it is, but it's a lot. And
is that school, worldwide?
500 is not much,
No, is that worldwide? Is it all
regions? Well, I don't know. I don't know. I know what it is in Brazil and the United States and the UK. So, yeah, there's an educational program where if you're a school or a college, we will do a deal on certain licenses. But you can use the CE edition; it's perfectly capable.
Yeah,
for schools, but it's harder for them to, get work in and put in labs and things like that. School labs. Schools tend to have labs nowadays. Not Labradors, as far as I'm aware, anyway. But science labs. But that was the other thing that I said. If we keep putting out videos that appeal only to existing developers, we'll go out of business. We won't be here in 5 years' time. Because I don't want to talk to a room full of guys that look like me. I want to talk to a room full of the guys that were on before, the Brazilian guys. And that is and you know why? Because in Brazil they have a guy called Landerson Gomez. His only job, he does other things actually, but his only job is to get Delphi taught in school, and he's very successful. So they've bred a whole bunch of high school students and college students.
That your dog?
Know how to program in Object Pascal. It was a language invented to teach people how to code. So why are we not? I don't know. Anyway, so that's there's a lot going on behind the scenes about that. And there will be a lot more coming, believe me.
it is a slow ship to turn, isn't it? Because if you've got Dr. Kevin Bond coming on at some point, who spoke to the group at length about, he was heavily involved in academia in the UK and trying to sort of get Object Pascal used, and it was part of the syllabus, and then it sort of dropped off the syllabus for certain exam boards. And I think you're right there. You've got a dog.
Yeah, I just evicted the dog.
Yeah,
he was just about to start banging on the door and barking at me. Yeah.
So I was saying that sort of if you have a template for engagement with I would go along to a university or a secondary school and do a talk, do a demo, exactly. it's almost where to start. A few years ago, I went and looked at the Coders Club, which is used in academic and sort of clubs and hobbies. Yeah. But it's almost like for the small user group, or for the I don't know, the site that's got half a dozen developers or whatever it is. It's quite a big ask, or it's quite difficult to sort of get at the organization to go into those institutes. Yeah. So it'd be lovely to, and I know the members of our user group, that the people that keep putting their hand up to do talks, and it's not because they like the sound of their own voice, it's because they like sort of communicating information. Yeah. And so I think that'd be good. That'd be very, very positive.
We've taken on an additional person specifically for education, and their job will be to reach out to because we realised there was a gap, and like I say, I've got a lot of respect for Embarcadero. There's not a single person I work with at Embarcadero who I don't have a lot of respect for. They're all really, I know it sounds cliche, but they are all very passionate about the product, and they really care. And certainly also on the product side, marketing and salespeople, they're going to be passionate, otherwise they're not in the right job, are they? As marketing salespeople. But it just isn't just them. It's the products and admin and even the general manager. They're all like that, and it's like working for a kind of startup in some ways. The way that they are so enthusiastic about it, and they do listen. When I go back and say, "Oh, I met a bunch of people in Amsterdam. This is what they said." I was on a thing with Jason, and he told me this and that and all the rest of it. They hear, they listen and they pay attention, and I respect them for that, because they don't have to. Idea is huge. It owns companies which own other companies. It's massive, and its job is to make money for its shareholders. I get that. And without Idea's involvement, there would be no Rad Studio, because at the time when they bought the company up, I don't know, I wasn't around, but I understood that things were not great. That's, as an outsider looking in, it didn't look like things were going well. And Idea probably saved them from, going under. So, and certainly there's absolutely no danger of that now. It's definitely not in that area. And, we talk about TIOBE because that's one of the few indexes we can look at, but it is actually somewhat of a gauge of where we're going, in the sense that we are going upwards in that index and becoming more popular. And the reason is the amount of engagement with people like you out in your user groups, people in the community, GitHub repos, videos like me doing it, but not only me, but all the other dozens and dozens of people that are doing it as well. It all contributes towards that, and it does feel like, dare I say it, a little bit of renaissance. People have started going, actually, I didn't know you could do all that at Rad Studio.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. I think for many years we focused on the wrong things. Instead of focused on what we can do with it, we focused on the minutiae of how to do something, and new users don't get that. They go, "Oh, what's that? I don't understand it. I'm not a Delphi person, so I'm not interested." Well,
yeah,
that's changed,
for sure. Cool. So, well, I look forward to speaking to the new person who's that'd be great. Have a chat with them about education.
Well, I don't know who they are. I've been that busy with the stuff. I know that it's recent. It's only in the last month and a half. But it's definitely going to happen. Okay. Yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to add before we call it a day?
No, other than
your QR code back up again, so make sure.
Excellent.
So they scan it.
Fantastic. If anyone's got any questions, or anyone wants to sort of talk about setting up a group in their country region, or anyone wants to come along to one of the meetings, the first meeting is always free. We're getting back into face-to-face. We'll be meeting in London in September. Get involved, get engaged. Don't just Google. Don't just ask the questions. sort of get engaged, find a community. That's what I say for
for sure. And I appreciate what you do. I mean, I obviously sound like I'm always like kissing up to everybody when they're here, but I mean it. You and I talk frequently, and we have some fairly sort of direct conversations about things as well. And that's great. I want people to be straight with me, and I think you get a straight answer back as well. I think that people, as you said, as I said, you met me in person. What you see is what you get, and I think that's true of the developers as well. We all want the same thing. We're all working on the same side, and so let's try and do something about that. All right. And we're two Brits, but technically I'm an American now.
Well, I sort of I consider myself Welsh, so in fact neither of us are. We're both.
My grandfather was Welsh actually as well. Yeah, he was Williams. He was John Williams was his name. So yeah, I forget where he was born, but it was. I mean, he's been long dead. He actually died on the steps of St. Paul. Of all the places you're going to die somewhere very famous. He had a brain hemorrhage and dropped dead on steps of St. Paul in the 60s, just before I was born. So there you go. But yeah. Happy days. I want to die somewhere famous as well, but not until I'm about 175. So, because by then I'll have saved up for my retirement, and I've had 2 years of retirement.
What, 175? Well, I guess
I've worked it out. I'll be safe by about the age of 170. I can retire then. That'll be good.
Stop buying things. Stop buying trinkets and toys and bits of development stuff.
But that's so much fun. I keep calling my daughter, she did a university thing, and I describe her degree as my Tesla. And actually, we worked out the other day, her cost of her degree is probably 3 Teslas. So not that great. Well, there you go. Welcome to America, y'all.
Very good.
On that note, thanks a lot, Jason. Okay. And I'll talk to you another time.
Brilliant. Cheers. Thanks. Bye-bye.
No worries. Bye.